what we're going to try to do is clean up these headers. These are the stock ones that came with this. Keep in mind it's a 1996 model with over 200,000 miles on it. I'm no longer going to be running the heat shield on this. I'm going to be making something totally different. Had a couple bolts break off in this, so it's really kind of gnarly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up taking all these tabs off of here the best I can and cleaning this thing up and making it look pretty. Also, I've got to do something about this, so we're going to be tackling all that today. Now, I'd really like to just get rid of this piece. I mean, somebody really botched it up, made it look terrible. But I'm going to be going turbo here pretty soon, so I'm going to have a whole new upper exhaust system. That's the reason why I'm doing that with the headers right now and not getting new headers. It's just because these things are going to be replaced anyways. If I went and got some new headers for this thing, I'd just be throwing them away or selling them or something. It'd just be kind of wasted money. So I'm going to end up working on this a little bit later, getting all this stuff off because this heat shield has just had it. Alright, so now we've got the header. It's got a little exhaust gasket on here. We'll take that off and put that to the side. We'll be reusing that. And now we're going to be basically concentrating on getting some of these tabs off. I've got a grinder and everything. I'm going to try to grind off the welds on these. They look pretty thick, so we'll just see how it goes. Alright, a little update on this. I got a couple of the brackets off, but I tell you what, those welds are just about superficial. I can actually take and break the tabs off of these things, and I don't want to touch that because it's really hot, but these things are just, there's like no penetration to the welds at all. They're just on there. They're just stuck on there like gum. So anyways, got a couple of them off, 3 of them off. Then we're just going to grind them down smooth, kind of like that. It's kind of ugly, but it'll be better when it's painted. And then I'm going to paint these high temperature black and clean it all up. I got to put it through the blaster, sand blaster, and get it all looking good. And then it will look a lot better. But yeah, these welds look really gnarly and like they're really in there, but they're just like stuck on there like hot glue. Really not good, but I guess it did its thing, because you know the bracket didn't fall off. But anyways, that's where I'm at right now. After fighting with these guys and grinding them and doing what I needed to, all of them are off, both sides. It's a little toasty. I've got them all ground down. This thing is just completely nasty, so I'm going to put it in the sandblaster and see if I can get it looking a little bit better, because it is really gunked up. I mean, you can definitely tell this thing had 200,000 miles on it. That is for sure. So let's go ahead and try to get it cleaned up and see how it looks, and then we'll be on to paint. Alright, so we had a slight issue with our sandblaster, nothing to worry about, but I got most of it done. Got it enough where I can actually paint it and make it look good. It's not going to be showroom quality, that's for sure. Well, maybe better than showroom quality, because some of these welds really suck. But other than that, it's going to be nice. It's going to be presentable. I mean, when you pop open the hood, it's going to look good, and that's all I care about. So I'm going to go ahead and start prepping. Maybe put a first layer of paint down tonight, but tomorrow is going to be a big paint day because we've got to do this. And we've also got to do our little intake that we started on and do the wrinkle finish. Now that it's nice outside and it's a little bit warmer, it's supposed to be up in like the 70s, so we can actually set it outside and see if it'll wrinkle. If not, we'll just pull out the heat gun and show you a different way to do it. Alright, so on to the paint. Well, I gotta say, those did not turn out bad at all. Even the crusty, rusty pipe that was all nasty. And no, those aren't my welds. My welds aren't great, but those are not mine. But yeah, A little bit of high temperature, black paint, and yeah, I think they turned out pretty dang good. Now, you're going through all this trouble to make this engine, put this thing in, so why put something like this in? I mean, I don't know if you can see it on there, but it is crusty and old and looking bad, you know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, put it on the wire wheel, and clean this up and put some chassis black on it. This is kind of the stuff that I'm going to be doing with just about everything that's going to be going back on the car. Every little nut, every little bolt. We're actually going to take all of our stuff and bring it out and line it up on the counter. See what we have to deal with. But I want every little nut and bolt to look decent when we're putting it on. I mean, I have a beautiful motor sitting over there. Why should I put something ugly on it? That's why we're taking the time and cleaning and painting all the intake, the exhaust. As you saw, the headers and everything are not all rusty and nasty looking now. That's the name of the game for the rest of the build, so let's get to it. Always wear eye protection when you're working with these wire brushes. You think these things really hurt when they're in your arm? Wait till one gets in your eye. It's not fun. This middle part I'm just going to go ahead and run over with some sandpaper. It's just going to be easier doing it that way. After that's done, I'm going to go ahead and put a coat of the just regular like chassis black on it, and then it'll put some chassis black on it, and then it'll just be all ready to go back into the car. But we'll put it to the side because the car's not ready yet. So when I disassembled everything, I wanted to make sure that I labeled everything and took care of it. Like this one here is a lower timing cover. These bolts here are for the crank pulley. Now a lot of these I'm not going to need for my new engine, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go through all of these and clean them up and make sure they're all nice, because like this one here, these are water pump bolts, but I don't need them, but just in case something were to happen and I do need a bolt, it's going to look nice. I have like my upper timing cover. I might end up putting that lower cover back on there. We'll have to see. But we're going to go through all of these and drop them on the floor. We're going to go through all these and see what's going on with them. Like this is for the intake. These are important. These are things that I'm working on. So all of these, you can see they're crusty. I mean, I'm getting dirty just picking them up. So what we're going to do is we're going to put these on the wire wheel and clean them up, and I'll show you what they look like after. And we're going to go through this, and I suggest this if you're doing it yourself. Go through one little section at a time. All of these are intake nuts and bolts. And so I don't mix them up. I'm only going to do that. So let me go ahead and clean those up, and I'll show you kind of a before so you can have a judge on how they look after. But you've seen me wire wheeling stuff. I mean, I don't have to show you how to do it, but one thing I would suggest is getting a little pair of vice grips and holding on to these. Don't hold on to them with your finger. They're just too small. They're going to rip out of your fingers, or you're going to hurt yourself or something. Don't do it. So just get a little pair of like needle nose vice grips, clean one side, spin it around, clean the other side. Stay safe. This is what I'm talking about. Just kind of hold on to it. That way your fingers are out of the way. Here's a little before and after so you can see what I mean. I'd much rather put something like that on my car than putting something crusty and nasty on my car again. So let me go ahead and get all these done. Yeah, I would say those look so much better than they did before, that is for sure. like I said, I'm putting all this effort into, putting this nice engine in this thing. So why not just go through the extra steps of cleaning everything up before you put it in? Definitely makes a difference, that's for sure. There's one I missed. Oh well, glad I saw it now. Alright, so our next step is to take all of these parts that came off of the Miata and clean them up. And we've got a parts washer that I'll show you in just a minute. And believe it or not, we actually got that parts washer from Tractor Supply for $29, and it is amazing. I can't believe we actually got it for that inexpensive a price. But as you see, this stuff is grimy. It's not very pleasant at all. Keep in mind, this chassis that we're working on had over 200,000 miles. So this stuff is just greasy, grimy, and I don't even want to touch it. My hands are dirty, but not that dirty. But you can see just the amount of grease and grime. Now some of this stuff, like this water pump, we're not going to be reusing because we got a brand new one, which is nice. So we're just going to pitch this. We might keep it around, I don't know. It's still good, but it's got 200,000 miles, so who's really going to want it, But let's go through this and get all the parts out and see what we need to keep and what we need to pitch. And then we're going to take it over to the parts washer and get it all cleaned up. Alright, after all that, a lot of that stuff we were getting rid of because it was like pistons and things like that. But we do have some brackets and some things that we're going to clean up. So let's go over to the parts washer and I'll show you that thing. Alright, this is our parts washer. This came from Tractor Supply, and it only cost $29. It was on sale, clearanced out. Really cool. It just a little switch on over here and just sprays it out, and then you can scrub up your stuff and use it just like, parts washer. Now whenever you're using this stuff, definitely use gloves and glasses. Stay safe. I got a little grimy hose bracket. It just has some grease and oil on it. So let's see if we can get this cleaned up. Alright, and so for our big parts, we've got a lot of dirt and grime. I mean, this thing's supposed to be downright silver, and look at it. I mean, it's gross. Alright, this starter here, I mean, it just is pretty grimy. 200,000 miles of dirt and debris splashing up on this thing is making this thing just really, really gross. So, the name of the game today is to finish up the big parts, like this tube here. You can just see how grimy that is. We're going to go ahead and get to cleaning all of this stuff. I'm going to probably repaint this black just because it's going to go with the theme of my engine. The rest of this stuff, we're just going to take it as it comes and get it all cleaned up and get ready for the install. And then it's going to be all hands on deck, man. We're getting this engine in here, which is going to be interesting. One other thing I got was a fuel injector cleaner. I've never done that before like this, so it's going to be a learning experience for all of us, but we're going to try to get the injectors all cleaned up inside and outside. That way when we put them in the engine, it's just going to be running flawlessly. That is the plan, of course, so let's get to it and see how this goes. Alright, I got everything about as clean as it's going to get. They don't need to look brand new, but I just wanted them to look a little bit more presentable. This throttle body is really, really filthy, but I'll try to give it a going over one more time and see how it turns out. But some of these, like this here, I'm going to put the wire wheel to the end of that to make that all nice and good. And I probably will end up painting that. I don't even remember what part that is, to be honest with you. But looks like we're actually doing pretty good so far. Got some things hanging up and painting. Just got some chassis black on these things, nothing fancy, but definitely looks a lot better than nasty rusty metal, that's for sure. So now that we're kind of at that stage, I think I'm going to unwrap the engine. It's going to be for the next video, and I'm going to start putting some of this stuff on, so that's going to be awesome. So definitely thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and share with your friends. Give us a like, give us some comment down there, let us know how we're doing, because we're going to be building this engine, so that's going to be on our next video. And there's a wild Cooper.
Have fun, guys. See you on the Subaru. She's back on the road. See you on the... I messed it all up. I'm sorry.
Everybody needs to worry.